Flying Pig Thrifts.
We are back at the Lebanon Goodwill. I was up in Myerstown picking up an auction win, and I decided to swing by Lebanon on the way home. This is going to annoy a lot of people. Looking back, I think this is the stand, but when I put that shade on that stand, it was so loosey-goosey. I was like, there's no way this fits. Probably should have gotten the stand because looking at pictures on eBay, people have clear glass stands. But let's look at the hobnail first. There's a whole bag of white hobnail glass. Okay, let's take that. But back to the shade, I believe it's Ellie Smith Pineapple. It does have a chip on it, so I might be keeping it for myself anyway. But some people have clear glass stands, some people have satin glass stands. I'm going to use a white glass stand. So let me know in the comments if that was the stand and I just needed to take another chance, another time to set it on there. But it was so small compared to the lamp. That is why I did, or the lampshade. That is why I did not get it. This was bundled together and it had a margarita thing on the top. And I was like, what are the rest of these plates? Is this a marriage? But no, they were also margarita themed plates to go with your margarita maker. And I was being nosy and seeing what was in that container, because usually when there are dishware container, like padded zippy things, you want to look in there because there might be some really fancy schmancy china. This was Andrea by Sadik or Sadik. It was a pie cake server cookie display. It's very, very pretty. I'm always looking for souvenir plates of Maine. I have a collection of 2. I'm trying to make an accidental collection of at least 3. I have the window open, so if you hear some noise in the background, that is because it's a beautiful day here in central Pennsylvania, and I hope it's a nice sunny day wherever you are watching this. Isn't this a happy looking plate? I like the pink and the gold, and the bird had a whole thing going on, but there was just one of those plates. I had recently been to this Goodwill when we were up visiting our friends. I say up because it is north of where I live. But there were lots of new things since the last time I was here. Little covered butter dish. And then I'm going to look through these to see if there's any plates that say Maine on them. It's interesting how they all have a different design, but the same pink and gold frame. And then underneath, isn't that sweet? It's from Christmas 1974. That's 50 years old. Can you believe it? Seems impossible. Over here we have a Party Light frog. I've sold this before. They usually come in 2s. The other guy is kind of like a seductive looking frog. Decided not to get that, but took my time really looking at all the different things on this end cap. I like the style of this sugar bowl. They did not have the creamer. And then I was like, wait a minute, this looks familiar. And it was Andrea by Sadik, however you want to say it. So I put it back, did a little merchandising for Goodwill and put it together. I think that makes a nice little set. I have a salt and pepper shaker of a donkey that has the bottles, and I'm slowly collecting salt and pepper shakers because I would like to have a salt and pepper shaker sale on Whatnot. I don't have very many, but I think if I don't list them and just collect them, I'll have enough for a small show. The auction that I mentioned on Wednesday's video that I tried to get the salt and pepper shakers was way too high. They were crazy, like $50, $60 for a flat. So I did not get those, but I think that's what I'm going to do. I'd like to do some more themed shows. I used to do those on Tuesdays, and Fridays were just variety, and I would like to get back to having at least one themed show a week or every 2 weeks. I appreciate your comment about the last video and saying the music was loud. I 100% agree, and so that is why I'm going to be more mindful of doing voiceovers or shopping where the music isn't so darn loud. Here we have a Russ Berry hand-painted Hanukkah plate, Festival of Light. Is very pretty. It is on the heavy side. I already have this listed on eBay. I thought it was very pretty. I like the style of it, and I love picking up Judaica themed items because they're very hard to find around here where I live. And so when I do pick them up and they're nice, and they would appeal to me if I collected that. And so I always pick them up when I can find them, and I thought that was very pretty. There were some snow babies on the original box. Kept moving on, and then we're looking at this pig. Getting back to the snow babies, though, I do pick them up when they have a little colored detail, an M&M or a puppy dog or a critter or something like that. But for the most part, I don't usually pick up snow babies. Going around the corner, here we are looking at, looks like some holiday items. There was this box with a whole bunch of things, so I was like, what's in here? They're all little tiny little angel ornaments. The box is marked Hess, definitely a vintage box. And inside it are some angels. And then I noticed there was Mary in there in the pink dress. And then I made sure that Joseph was there. He's there on the right. He's in the green gown. And then little baby Jesus is in there as well. I thought that's neat. You have the Holy Family and some angels in a vintage box. What's not to like? I would say they're probably from the 70s, maybe early 80s. And then in here we had, I think, two hobbyist pieces, just white on white painted angels. And they had their wings. And I thought they were very sweet, making sure there wasn't anything else in the bags that I was missing before I decided to take this box of angels with me. We are in the fourth quarter, and even though it is going to be Halloween next week, next Thursday, already selling Christmas items. I usually sell Christmas items year round, but bringing more Christmas to whatnot sales, because if you bring Halloween, it most likely won't get to my buyer on time. And it's funny how you kind of have to be a couple months ahead when you're in the reselling game to stay in tune with what people want. You know, they want Christmas, they want Hanukkah, and then soon, right before, like in January, maybe the end of December, see if you can find Valentine things. It's a funny game. I remember when I worked at the Hallmark store, it was the same thing. My boss was always like, it would be maybe, let's say, Easter. He's like, I'm already into Halloween. He was always 6 months ahead of the game to try to keep up with the demand of what people want. There was a lot of Avon boxes today, a lot of collectibles. Those were beer steins, if I remember. Not a lot of perfumes. I was hoping they would have more Avon pins. On my last Whatnot sale, I had little Avon anthropomorphic plastic pins, and it seemed like everyone liked looking at them and kind of going down memory lane with them. I had the calico cat pin, and I haven't, those I got at a independent thrift store, but it would be exciting to find some of those at Goodwill, because I do find a lot of Avon, but this particular trip, it was more Avon collectibles and not perfume bottles, which is usually the norm. When I was visiting Green 13, they had a whole bunch of Avon, this Avon Cape Cod collection, and it sold pretty well. They kind of sold it as gothic, because it's that dark red, but there were two creamers and not a creamer and sugar, so I did not pick that up. And then that ashtray was interesting. That was in the shape of a beer stein. Down over here, I felt that this might be Treasure Craft or something very similar to Treasure Craft. I did not see the TC or it written on the box. It was a Florida souvenir. This kind of looked like it would be Burmese. I was hoping it was a Fenton Burmese bell that glowed, but it was not. It was just a cute little ceramic bell. And then on the front here, it wasn't very crowded here, which was very nice. We had a Mary Englebright ornament. Some Mary Englebright is a good seller, so if you ever come across Mary Englebright, make sure you look it up. Look up solds, or look up it on WorthPoint to see if it is worth picking up, because some of it can be. And then, oh, here, this little hedgehog thing. I think that's a flower frog. I hope it's not a toothbrush holder, because I touched it. And then here was a little hand-painted, might be a trinket dish, wasn't quite sure. Then this wooden piece that I'm going to pick up here, I thought this was really neat. It had a boho European look to it, and it turns out it was made in Europe. But I had to really I have to put the camera down. That spoon pops off, and then the lid goes up. I think it might be a salt, but I could not. I had to use two hands to open the lid. That lid was so tight. I don't know if it had swelled. Maybe it gotten damp and then swelled, but I didn't think, well, who's going to want to use this if you have to take it down off the wall and use two hands to like really pop that lid open? But it did have a neat style to it. And then I was looking in those Avon boxes to see what they were. They were just probably a little resin figurine. This was adorable. It reminded me of a cat warmer, tart warmer that I had sold before. I don't know if it was by the same company. And then over here were some kitty cat shakers. Speaking of my future shaker sale, these are more contemporary. They had a magnet. I saw the magnet was on the mom. And then look, the little kitten like snuggles up like she's carrying it. So I thought that was really, really cute and decided to add that to the collection of salt and pepper shakers. Doing a little cart recap of what we have so far. I think we have a good collection going. And onward and upward. Here we are looking down another aisle. They had some Easter things. And then this box was funny. I don't know if I filmed it, but I've seen this exact same thing at another Goodwill. It's a really nice piece of glass, but then it has that prudential or that mountain. It's some kind of bank, I think. It was weird. It was the exact same thing that I had seen at another Goodwill. This looked vintage. It's like, is this a tiny candle? But it turned out it was a shot glass. This was really pretty. It said Moscow in Russian on the bottom of it. It was a wooden egg with a stand, but that picture of St. Basil's is decoupaged. It is not hand painted on there. If it had been hand painted, I probably definitely would have thought about it, looked it up, but because it was just I can't speak because it was just decoupaged, I decided it probably wasn't as highly desirable than if something had been hand painted. I like to look for macrame vintage plant holders. This one was very thick, and it didn't seem very long to hold a plant in there, so I didn't really look too much further. Here was a bag of baseballs, and I don't know if there's anything over here. We just kind of look at the shelves together. And I hear an ambulance in the background. Hope everyone's okay. Oh, then here is a box with a kitty cat ballerina. This is Avon, and it said necklace in it. I'm going to pause so the ambulance goes by. Bye. Okay, it said ballerina kitten with a necklace, and I looked in there, and there was the ballerina kitten. Did anyone ever have this? I'd never seen this before. Cute little stuffy. And then I was thinking, well, where's the necklace? And sure enough, in the very bottom of the box was the necklace. So let's see what the necklace looks like. There are little ballet shoes. Isn't that sweet? So someone definitely sold Avon and definitely donated their goods to Goodwill. This was also another Avon collectible. Looked like they had never opened that one up. That one still looked like it was new in the package. And then here was another Victorian love pin. And then look at that. Isn't that pretty? With the lady and the pin and then the lace that looks like the dress, but it's a handkerchief. I thought that was super pretty. I really like Avon rings. I think that the jewelry is very, very nice. I always look to see when they're bags of shoes, if they're just the right shoe. That's the name of the brand. There was only one just the right shoe in this bag. Some of those shoes sell really crazy high, and then some are just, like $3, $4, $5 a piece. And because that one just had the one brand that I usually look for, I left that there on the shelf. Earlier, I remember seeing Stein boxes for Avon, and here were some endangered animals. They're panda Steins, and I was thinking, were those in those boxes? Because it seems like they're here on the shelf. And then I moved those planters to see what was back here because there were bags. These look like they were painted rocks. And then here was a farm. You had a goose and a pig and a cat and a chicken and maybe a cow. And then over in this bag, you had a cow and some other farm critters. You had more farm critters with the pig. And then just seeing who made this. Because sometimes people like to propagate their plants in those little bottles. Here we had some, I was like, oh look, some shakers. We had some owl shakers, but that had some chips on it. And it's hard to kind of fix up any kind of color that's not black. And that was brown, so I decided not to get those because of the chips. This was also another Avon product. It said carrot magnet, but I was like, that looks like an onion. So I decided to open it up, and inside was a carrot magnet, and then maybe they had extra. So you got carrots and onions. And let's see, do I see anything back here? Oh, this was wax. She had broken off her arm. That was interesting. That was all wax. When I first started reselling, I used to pick up miniature tea sets all the time. Now I don't because they're very hard sellers. I looked up this mug on eBay to see what the solds were. It wasn't crazy, like $4 to $7. So I put that back. I thought maybe Longenberger ABC. You never know. Might be highly sought after mug. This PPPPP mug was interesting, and this was stained gold, but look how chipped it is, and that's usually how I find most pieces of stained gold with chips on it. I decided to do one more pass through to make sure I didn't miss anything from earlier because they were actively restocking. This said Lennox. It was $6.99, and it turns out I didn't even have to open the box because they were drinking goblets or champagne flutes or something like that. It had it written on the box. So I decided not to take the time to open up that box and move on to this box. I forget what was in there. This caught my eye because it had 1974 on it. It had one was in the original box. And I did look this up on eBay. If you look up Kapoh or K-A-P-O-H, I think, it was a drink. It's an inn. And then you had this special drink that you could get the glass to go with. And then here were tiny little aperitif glasses maybe. And then over in this little Halloween section, I thought this was super cute. This is Yankee Candle. And of course, if we weren't like a week away from Halloween, I might have picked this up, but then I noticed there were chips on it. So I decided not to get that. But it's a very cute idea. Tart warmer. I like those because then when the votive goes out, you don't have to worry about a lit candle being, forgetting to blow out a candle. Over here, I was like, what's in this shoe box, even though I don't sell shoes? Well, soccer shoes. And then I noticed next to it were these Avon bunny slippers. They had these listed at $10. I probably would sell them for $12, so I decided not to get them. They still were new in the package. These look like new in an open package. They were pretty cute. I think these were maybe $5. And that's going to wrap up our trip here to the Lebanon Goodwill. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching. Take care, and I'll see ya.